Space is not plastic, static, positive, projecting. It is hollow, negative, retiring. It is never complete and finite. It is in motion, connected to the next space and to the next, and to the infinite space. It is materially defined by slabs of masonry or wood or what have you, by structural frames, by a dome or by a sheet of glass, but defined only, not isolated. It may be given certain qualities by these defining elements, depending upon whether they are of wood or glass, or metal or brick, of this color or that texture, and the quality of these defining elements is, in turn, dictated by practical needs. What is the principal difference between what we call modern space and the attitudes of past architecture? I think it is one all-important change in our lives. We have learned to move faster, faster than anyone ever moved before. We no longer see little details disconnected or detached from the overall picture. We see continuities. We no longer see individual columns as finished, independent, aesthetic compositions standing there all by themselves. We see whole structural frames and the rhythm they possess when you move past them. At one time, the wall that separated one space from the next had its own detailed, exquisite decoration, a modulation independent from the space it helped to define. A window was really not a part of the outside, the great space beyond, but a cutout in the wall. Furniture had its own dynamic and eye-arresting contours. The floors were ornamented as if they were pictures to be studied at great leisure and in great detail. The lighting fixture was in itself a complex composition of metal, glass, or fabric. We subordinate everything to the greater unity of this new space. We subordinate the house to the greater unity of the street. We subordinate the streets to the greater unity of the square. We subordinate the squares to the greater unity of the city space. At the rate at which we move, our impressions are quicker. Our impressions come in greater units than they ever did before. The scale has changed, we see in larger scale. And this is not true of architecture alone. It is true of our interpretation of history. It is true of our interpretation of the whole universe. A building that has fewer independent details will fit more easily into this kind of space continuity than a building of infinite individuality. Our attitude towards all this has changed completely. We have a new experience of space, space in motion, space in flow. And because we have this new experience, we are no longer concerned so much with the tiny detail, but rather with the greater unity of this new and wonderful medium, the flowing space we try to mold. This sense of continuity produced by motion does not mean that our architecture has a nervous staccato rhythm.